gentlemen, I'm very happy to be able to present to you some interesting samples of my latest book. It's called Reimagining Medieval Persian Pub Life, and subtitled Poems from Eastern Roses by Friedrich Rückert. Now, let's start with pub life. I've written a little something about that to my computer just now, and it was fun. Pub life in medieval Muslim Persia. But didn't the Qur'an prohibit wine? Actually, the meaning of the relevant Quranic passages was long and widely debated. Result, Persian pub culture was intense and celebrated with distinguished verse. In this book, I focus on a Divan, a very big collection. The Divan nowadays, like Ottoman, another word also from the Middle or Near East, was used to mean a sofa, but originally it was the assembly of people who were sitting on the sofa, royal counselors, for example, maybe poets. Actually, the word was broader than that. It didn't just mean a collection of people. It could be an assembly or an assemblage of anything. And so it's a way of saying anthology. Anthology is our word taken from a Greek source, which means a bouquet, a collection of flowers. So, in this book, I focus on a divan of pub verse called Eastern Roses. Eastern Roses. I just discovered it recently. It's a book by Friedrich Rückert, and I don't know why it was never mentioned in all the courses I took in German literature. Somehow or other, things happen in the history of literary interpretation, and one of the things I want to do is promote the current status of Rückert and his book Eastern Roses. Eastern Roses means Oriental, that is to say, roses in the Persian style. And the Persian style of whom? The Persian style of Hafeez. This is what happened. J.W. von Goethe, Germany's greatest poet, was having writer's block in 1814, when suddenly appeared the first ever translation of Hafeez's 14th-century Divan, 14th century, lifetime of Chaucer, into any European language, and it appeared in German. Luckily for us, and luckily for Goethe, Goethe loved it. And by 1819, he had written his reply. I have to put in a remark here, he didn't read it in Persian. He didn't know any more Persian than I do. He read it in the great translation by Joseph von Hammer. Hammer, if you say in German, das ist ein Hammer, that means he's the hammer. He's the real thing. That's interesting that there's that kind of slang that we still have in German. Let's see. By 1819, Goethe, who read this Hammer translation, had written his reply, which he called West-East Divan, where he plays the role of a medieval Persian pub poet. He called Hafeez his twin brother, separated by several centuries and maybe a certain amount of geographical territory, but in spirit, twins. West-East Divan, where he plays the role of a Persian medieval pub poet while yet remaining in some ways also Western, West-East, and modern. This epoch-making marvel caught on in Germany and powerfully stimulated the rich production of several poets whom I also sample liberally in this book. It's an interview-style book. I present a poem by Rückert, and then I'll present a poem by somebody else and maybe talk about the two of them together. What I do for every poem I translate is write a blogatelle, and that's a blending of the idea of blog with a musical bagatelle, meaning something casual and entertaining and not too heavy. So let's go with the prelude. This is the prelude to part one of Rückert's really big collection, and I call it prelude. He didn't. He called it On Goethe's West-East Divan. I told you, Goethe, really, I'll say it right even more plainly, he just simply set off a whirlwind of Persian interest in Germany, and it happened that he got some of the greatest poets of the time enrolled in his Persian medieval pub revival society. On Goethe's West-East Divan, would you like to feast in the genuine East? You of the self-same man must ask, who from the West, already the best, wine had decanted from filled-up flask. Just as at first he the West enjoyed, now he new wine from the East deployed. Look, on the ottoman you can see him bask. It's a word song, isn't it? And what a rhythm. Evening red, Goethe led, glad to the star of the western sky. Now the dawn leads him on, right to the Lord of the East on high. See where they both together glow, marking the heaven with flames that grow. Here's a divan that a rodel fire will show. Skills belong to the strong. Look at the arms of him, he can fight. Feeling young, psaltery strung. A psaltery is a kind of folk harp. I've played them, sampled, trying to get something out of them at folk music festivals. I myself am a fiddler. Feeling young, psaltery strung, ready for garlands and shining bright. Out of an easterly naphtha well, oil will he draw that of sun can tell. Even in age, let Italian drives in sight. This is an allusion to the fact that Goethe's earlier book was called Italian Travels, and there he celebrated not so much the sights to see of an architectural kind, but rather the beautiful young women whom he came to know in that country. Youthful brawl yet may call scorn into play, then refreshing rest. Love remains, youth regains, rosy-hued brow in the poet blessed, heading toward immortality. Many more years let predestined be, given the striver to work up strength and zest. Think of those in whom arose young-minded brotherhood with you, ardent hearts, skilled in arts, so many years your companions true, with Sadi of the poet guild, in whom a full century strength instilled, and great Jami, a senior singer too. You can't see it, but I was beating my foot to the rhythm the entire time. It's such a joy for me to recreate these rhythms and rhyme schemes. You have to be a virtuoso, an acrobat to invent them. Naturally, Rickert would want to dedicate his Eastern Roses to Goethe, whose West-East Divan opened the door to all the poems the romantic German poets would offer so abundantly to laud Hafeezian tavern life. West-East Divan appeared in 1819 from Goethe. Rickert's Eastern Roses, 1822. Note the quick reply. Now, Goethe has written a poem that's very relevant to this, because he even mentions Hafeez, as do all the poets we're talking about today. They regard him as their patron, if not indeed their twin brother. And here's Goethe. Past in present. This is basically, as we'll see, what he feels he has learned from reading Joseph von Hammer's translation of Hafeez. And by the way, don't get confused. I'm a little confused. I've read all this poetry in German. It's Persian poetry, but I don't know German, I don't know Persian. I hope I know German, and I read it in German, and I wind up pronouncing the Persian names the way the Germans do, and I say Hafeez. In fact, the man who drew the marvelous logo for my book, which shows you the name Hafeez written in Arabic with a wine goblet as part of the logo. The man who drew that is he was my best friend and still is. 13 years now. We're in the 14th year of our friendship, and he calls himself Shahid Alam. Not Shahid Alam, because that he says it the German way. He's lived in Germany for 50 years, and he mostly talks to me. He recites poems and thoughts in German, and I have turned them into poems. And I've published this with calligraphies by him in a volume called When Two Friends Meet. He made up the title. All right, so here we go. Poem by Goethe. Past in present. lily rose, bedewed by dawn, in the garden bloom nearby, friendly wooded, farther on, boldly climb the cliffs on high, and with rounding forest nigh, and with knightly castle crown, summit arc will guide the eye to the valley looking down. Green aroma memory, when we suffered so from love, strings upon my psaltery, with the morning sunray strove, when the hunter's songs undwindling, or full in rounded tone were heeded, sound refreshing and enkindling, as the heart deeps wanted, needed. So the woods forever grow. Raise your spirit then with this. What rejoiced you long ago, now enjoy in others' bliss. No one then will us reprove, that we care for self alone. Reprove means rebuke. Now wherever life will move, blend we in the merry tone. By our singing borne away, we're with Hafeez, genial boy, the perfection of the day. With enjoyers we'll enjoy. And here's my reply to the both of them. With Hafeez, we love him well. He with Rückert, Hammer, Goethe made the tunes that time won't quell. Daybreak, dawn, dear Morgenröte. That's just the word for dawn. It happens to rhyme with the poet's name. When of morning reddened sky we awaken to tell, far bolder we become in mission high, getting younger, never older. Goethe called Hafeez a twin. Time we now were triplets named, resurrected. Let's begin Eden morning, new reclaimed. Lute and timbrel, barbiton, flute and aulos, if you like. That's a double oboe. Brightened by the Goethe dawn, play and chant. It's open mic. You can tell I'm a child of the 60s and have gone to innumerable folk fests and love to play the fiddle. I'm also a violinist and a chorister, and I sang Handel's Messiah 3 times with the downtown singers in Binghamton, New York. Never will the scripture end, never can our lyrics die. Every hearer is our friend, answering the lover's sigh, which aforetime and today came and comes from him on high, who in Solomonic way Sula viewed with sparkling eye. Genial youth font, you Hafeez, from the springtime of your lines, upward spring for each with ease, right reply to God divines. Compared God there as the Sufi poets and theosophers like Ibn Arabi have done. Compare him to King Solomon. In other words, but when there was nothing but God and there was no one for him to love, nothing for him to love, he breathed the world's greatest sigh of melancholy longing. And since he was a poet, the sigh was an imaginative one, and he imagined the pluriverse in which we live. And now he's waiting for his beloved, the created ones, us, to be the Shulamite, the Sulamith. I called her Sula for short. That's the way the Song of Solomon, the Bible book by King Solomon, says so. It says that he wrote it, and it's the most passionate thing perhaps in the history of world poetry. I may be going out here on a limb, but I doubt that I'll fall off that limb. I'm pretty confident that what I said has some merit. The Song of Solomon was devoted to a woman whose name we never know. We'll never find out because the writer King Solomon never named her. So a Sulamite, a Sulamith, is just somebody who lives in the Sulam district. Anyway, God is the King Solomon, and we are his beloved, and the Qur'an is his love letter to us. That's the Sufi teaching of Ibn Arabi. Well, you see, I do have a lot of fun with this. It's an interview book, and we talk to each other. Now, this one is a lot of fun to write, for me to write and in English, and for him in German, and for me to read now to you. I'm tempted by the lute. I'm tempted by the lute, and likewise by the flute. So which will heart enthuse, and which will I refuse? The lute announces wine, the flute would love awake. If you to one incline, the other thieves will take. The lute asked, why delay? the shining sun is here. The flute replied, no, stay. Let love wreaths give you cheer. My heart swings to and fro, with neither satisfied. You, east wind, rise and go, an answer to provide. Their powers let them combine, that each more strength might claim. The pitchers with the wine, the lovers with the flame. You silly sisters twain, your harmony will please. It couldn't be more plain. Here drinks, here loves, Hafeez. Boy, it's great to have a twin brother in Persia several centuries back. And here's my comment on that poem by Goethe. Hafeez, too, loves the flute and the lute, often called a barbiton in his work. He shows that in poem 81 of a book of poems of his that I translated, and which I call Love and Wine in Tavern Romance. Here is then Hafeez speaking in my translation. Let us drink twice to the welfare of Hatim Tai, wise ruler. From vain ambition keep us far. Taking the wine with the color of scarlet and taste of the sweetest, will make my loved one ruddy sweet. Carry the pillow outdoors, they are waiting for you in the garden, already flute and cedar tree. Listen, the singer beginning, the instruments heard in the meadow, the flute and larger barbiton. Hafeez, your melody charms are extensively known and well valued, from China to the Persian fields. It's funny, Hafeez doesn't always necessarily write happy poems. Most of the time, he is utterly ignored or rejected, or both, by I don't know what the difference is, by the lovers whom he is courting, mostly men, and he doesn't let it disturb him because he can always end off a poem with patting himself in the back saying, hey, I wrote one doozy of a poem here. One of the poet's recurrent self-compliments will indulge a reference to his Chinese fame, and I think the claim might even be true. It's hard to envision Persian trade with China during Hafeez's lifetime. Indeed, even in the 20th century, a Persian-influenced Manichaean, that is Zoroaster-related, church could be seen in that country. Now we'll try another one. This is another poem from Eastern Roses by Goethe, and where will I get my reply will be, again, a citation of Hafeez's translation of how Hafeez himself would have replied to join in the joyful mood. This is called Lovely Maids and Wine. Lovely maids and wine, magic traps design, also finely wrought, wisest birds are caught. Lips and goblet rim, coral reefs may be, by whose idle whim ships are wrecked at sea. In the tavern, sir, kneeling don't neglect, princes here prefer treatment with respect. You, good love notes, scribe, suitors aid with art, all in with pain imbibe, that is, we all do, treasures of the heart. Love and cup you house, folk who, free, carouse. King and queen, your throne, well to me is known. Help the human race, keep its rightful pace. Those whom woes bereave, guide, don't let them grieve. When before the Lord, brave a sage implored, fools have seized all power, when's our freedom hour? God replied, your bad teachings make men sad. Till this pain you've eased, fools will laugh well pleased. Well, here is my comment. Prominent among the harmful teachings decried by Hafeez, we find the failure to grant to the pub respect as a suitable setting for love and worship. Let him explain in poem 33 of Tavern Romance. You pious one, do not defame the drinker. His seeds, what kind of a Freudian slip? His sins aren't credited to your account. If I am good or bad, just you be quiet. A man will reap whatever he had sown. I'll not abandon hope that God be gracious. You cannot know who's damned and who is blessed. A loving friend will know the drunk, the sober. A church and mosque are each the house of love. And not alone from purity I've fallen. My father paradise already lost. My head I to the taverners surrendered. So bow your head, I say to envy dull. The garden's lovely, true, but you must relish the meadow shadow and the greening grove. What long ago was in the book indited, that's spelled without a C, it means written, you know. Do not rely on pious deeds, glass-touching lips. Upon your death day, Hafeez, with bliss on lip you'll rise to heaven high. If so you are inclined, fine inclination. If this remain your custom, custom wise. Hafeez is revered in Iran, and he's taught in schools, and the usual rationale is that this isn't real wine he's talking about. This is some kind of allegorical liquor never brewed. A phrase I quote from Emily Dickinson, who was influenced by Emerson, who actually translated hundreds of pages of Hafeez. It isn't very widely available. I haven't yet been able to get a hold of it. The huge amount of Hafeezian writing by our own Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now here's another one that gave me a lot of pleasure. Fullness of love and youth. Maybe his themes don't change much, but his melodies, his tunes, rhythms and rhyme schemes alter repeatedly, and he has different angles on love and wine in each poem. Fullness of love and youth, spring with its merry days, friendship's convivial truth, dinner with drink we praise, rosy-lipped taverner, nightingale-mooded lute, wine that the heart will stir, nor will our guests be mute. Serpent adorned the rooms, think of an Eden bower, goblets where rose scent blooms, moisten the vines with power, gracious the leader's face, happiness all around, prying is out of place, calm is the gift we found. Bright is the ruby wine, purple and red at meals, drinkers their smiling eyne, sparkling with wine one feels. Beautiful, lightning eyes, lightly with pain will slay, tresses, a net disguise, trapping the hearts at play. Lovable drunken talk, bringing to mind Hafeez, keepers, protectors, walk nobly, Qawams at ease. Those who neglect the fest, God will indeed forgive. Those who disdain a test, surely forget to live. And here's my comment. I think this may be the last one I do today. I have so much to say about everything, or rather to sing about it. This is my comment. Anacreon, the Greek poet of revelry, 575 to 495 before our present era, was anciently much praised. Readers may not be aware of the vitality of what's called the anacreontic or partying tradition in earlier centuries of Anglophone literature. It may be helpful to recall that our American national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, was originally a drinking song with lyrics by Ralph Tomlinson, 1779, the same year as George Washington and the rest of our founding parents. And it was called To Anacreon is the god of bibulous festivity in heaven. The point of the work is to marry Venus, that's passion, to Bacchus, wine. Now, Zeus, or Jove, the king of the gods, is not eager to see passion married to wine, Venus married to Bacchus. He doesn't want any threats to his power, single or double. But Apollo is the god of poetry, and he will not only approve, but maybe even perform the wedding ceremony of beauty and wine. So here we go. Well, I think I better sing it low, because this is going to be the Star-Spangled Banner, and those of you who happen to be Americans and have tried to sing it know that it's got a tremendous range, and one can easily get outdone by it. So let's see. Oh, that's good. To Anacreon in heaven, where he sat in full glee, a few songs of harmony sent a petition. That was supposed to be harmony, that he their inspirer and patron would be, when his answer arrived from the jolly old Grecian. Voice, fiddle, and flute, no longer be mute. I'll lend you my name and inspire you to boot. And besides, I'll instruct you like me to entwine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's wine. The news through Olympus immediately flew, when old Thunder pretended to give himself airs. If these mortals are suffered their scheme to pursue, the devil, a goddess, will stay above stairs. I won't have to interpret that, I don't think. Hark, already they cry in their transports of joy, away to the sons of Anacreon we'll fly, and there with good fellows we'll learn to entwine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's vine. The yellow-haired god, that's Jove, the king of the gods, and his 9 fusty maids, the muses, from Helicon's banks will incontinent flee. Idalia will boast but of tenantless shades, and the Biforked hill a mere desert will be. My thunder, no fear on't, shall soon do its errand, and damn me, I'll swing the ringleaders, I warrant. I'll trim the young dogs for thus daring to twine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's vine. Well, Apollo rose up, and he said, prithee ne'er quarrel, good king of the gods, with my votaries below. Your thunder is useless, then showing his laurel, cried sic evitabile fulmen, you know. That means, thus you the lightning bolt deftly evade. Then over each head my laurels I'll spread, so my songs from your crackers, firecrackers, no mischief shall dread, whilst snug in their club room they jovially twine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's wine. Then Momus got up with his risible fizz. Risible means laughable, and fizz means physiognomy or face, and swore with Apollo he'd cheerfully join the full tide of harmony still shall be his, but the song and the catch and the laugh shall be mine. Then, Jove, be not jealous of these honest fellows, cried Jove, we relent, since the truth you now tell us, and swear by old Styx, that's the river Styx, that they long shall entwine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's vine. Well, a toast to Hafeez and to Rickard. Thank you. And to you for being with me.